the home team. Luke Johnson, SuperTalk Eagle Hour, joining us right now. We got new D1 baseball regional projections. And Luke, it's not quite where we want it to be because we don't see Hattiesburg on there, but we do see Southern Miss not in Baton Rouge. We're making progress.
We are making progress. That is a win. I think they had, Kansas State, Alabama State in there. And, yeah, I mean, couldn't tell you the last time Southern Miss played Vandy in baseball. Probably need Jack Duggan in to tell us when and where if it happened. But the one that surprises me because, Eagles would be in a 15 or 16 spot. I heard you guys talking earlier in the week. I don't see how the Northeast will get two. Boston College at 14, Connecticut at 16. I think one thing that Southern Miss has going for them, what's going against them is that they're at 32 wins. So they need to get near the 40 mark. But don't you think if it comes down to the Eagles being considered and in that last 3 or 4 spots, don't you think that the NCAA wants a regional in the state of Mississippi for attendance purposes?
Yes, I think so. But I also could see where they go, look, this is the opportunity for us finally to push more into the Northeast. And so, I mean, I don't know if the committee really worries about that, if that's one of those things that we have convinced ourselves is a thing, or that's something that actually goes into the conversation. If they're simply saying, all right, who are the 16 most deserving teams? We don't care where they are. Or is it we've only got one on the West Coast. Stanford's got that. Oregon State kind of played themselves out of that. So what if we take this chance to kind of push it into the Northeast? We can justify Boston College and UConn. I don't know. I don't know how that works.
It's if you look at UConn, you're talking about the champion of the 12th RPI conference.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you would be looking at. And I mean, we'll talk about the Eagles here just in a second, but you could possibly have the Sun Belt right now is the 5th RPI conference. So you're talking about still co-champions in the 5th RPI conference, being locked out. And I think that there's a case to be made that Coastal's RPI is going to fall. I mean, they got a challenge this weekend. South Alabama's up against the wall. They're fighting for postseason life, and then they got to go play Marshall. So kind of the Marshall ULM series that Southern Miss is facing this weekend, Coastal's got Marshall the next way. Their RPI could tank as well.
And if Southern Miss is going to be the regular season champion, they've got to finish a game clear of Coastal Carolina because Coastal's got the tiebreaker on them. Yeah, I don't know. And, I feel like, Luke, we've always had this conversation, but from a different angle, right? Well, would the committee put 3 regional sites in Mississippi? Will they put 2 regional sites in Mississippi? Could Southern Miss host if Ole Miss is hosting or Mississippi State's hosting? And I wonder if that's something that we build up in our minds to help us try to understand, or if that's something that they really do look at in terms of geography. I don't know the answer to that. What I do know is that Southern Miss is playing really good baseball with 10 straight wins, 6 conference games remaining. It does feel like they can't lose this weekend, not in terms of being in the postseason, but in terms of hosting possibilities. I'm not sure you can afford a loss to ULM because of what it would do to the RPI.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the road, so that helps. I mean, but this should be on paper. If you sweep Arkansas State, you should sweep ULM. If you sweep South Alabama, one thing that the Eagles have not done in several years is drop a bad series at home. They just haven't done that. And that's kind of what separated them in the RPI the last 5 or 6 years. This is one of those that you should sweep. I mean, ULM's the worst team in the conference. I mean, but their head coach, the former Southern Miss guy, Michael Federico, who's coached with Barry. He was under Coach Palmer forever. So, I mean, he knows how the Eagles play. You do feel like if the worst case happened, you drop one on the road. If you got a home sweep against Louisiana, you could alleviate that some. I mean, Warren Nolan has got the Eagles winning 5 out of the last 6, and I would assume that's 2 out of 3 against Louisiana, and the sweep of ULM. They have them projected RPI, if the Eagles were to do that going into the postseason, they got them in at 15. That's what the projected RPI would be. And
well,
so
if that's where it finishes, as long as they don't lay an egg in the Sun Belt Conference tournament, then I don't see how you keep them out. If Southern Miss finishes the regular season with an RPI of 15, and then let's just say they finish with a top 20 RPI with 40 wins, I don't know how you keep them out in terms of hosting.
It's a different conversation in the Sun Belt. And I'll be honest with you. There is something to be said for being tied at the end of the season in a top 5 RPI conference. And Texas State, I mean, the projections today, Texas State's in. So the Sun Belt's getting 4 teams. And when you look at kind of like, top 50 teams, Sun Belt's right there with the conference right in front of them too. So we talked about this. This is the year where, the conference that Southern Miss is in gives them the benefit of the doubt and a perhaps RPI boost towards the end.
Yeah. Visiting with Luke Johnson. He is co-host of the Eagle Hour. You can listen to that online at supertalk.fm and, of course, on SuperTalk Hattiesburg and SuperTalk Laurel. Tanner Hall, man, the last couple of weeks, after that rough outing at Coastal, he has been almost unhittable in his last 2 outings.
We had Christian Ostrander on today, and we're just talking to him about Tanner, and it was really funny him talking about Tanner's out pitch, which is his changeup. And I asked Oz also, I said, look, it looks like he's got a little cut, on that changeup. And he said, man, that thing's got a mind of its own. He said it runs both ways. Scouts will ask Oz all over again, what does he do on that changeup? And Oz just goes, yeah. And I think he adjusted a little bit. He was a guy that was pounding the zone, so Coastal really, swung early in the zone and didn't allow themselves to get behind. And so he's kind of adjusted. And, when he's on, man, it is so fun to watch. That Oz said today that Hall's changeup is probably a top 5 pitch of anybody he's ever seen pitch at the school.
Really? Well, what would be the other 4? Did you ask him that?
I did not ask him that.
Come on, man. You got to follow up on that.
Well, Getty was taking all the time. I had to get my stuff in. So it happens. But, yeah, I will. I'll reach back out and ask for a couple of those. I'll tell you another out pitch this year, guys. Justin Storm coming 94 on a downward angle at 6-7 with the release point being closer to the plate. 42 strikeouts and 24 innings of work. I mean, he's become the closer on the back end.
Yeah, that's good stuff and has been part of the reason why. Who's the most important piece offensively right now?
It's so many different dimensions. I mean, what's happened the last 3 weekends is Pato has come on. Rodrigo Montenegro really has started 2 out of the 3 games in the weekend series. He's batting like right at 350. And then Monaster's in the 320 range. I mean, Monaster really has been what has helped this offense be holistic towards the bottom of the order. So with those 3, you really have now a 2-3-4 at the bottom of because you've got power, you've got contact, and you've got the ability for RPIs. I would continue to say Sargent because Sargent has provided the security for Wilkes. Wilkes is going to do his thing. He's at 18 bombs right now. As long as Etzel will continue to get on, Dickerson's going to make contact, and so. It's a hard question to answer because what's happened is you've had Wilkes have his 4 or 5 RPI game, and then he'll go 0 for 4 the next day, but somebody at the bottom of the order, 2 guys went 2 for 4.
Yeah. And Danny Lynch had a pretty big weekend as well, didn't he?
Danny Lynch continues to be Danny Lynch. I don't know if you guys have seen his approach to the plate now, like that's been kind of the source of the commentary on the Eagle Hour. We're trying to figure out what he's doing. He gets his entire body involved when he is waiting on the pitcher, and it's a sight to behold for sure.
I will have to check that out. Luke, always good to catch up. Big weekend coming up. Got to try and go get 3 on the road at ULM and stay in the race. Thanks, man.